people also love like shit talking. You know,
True.
people love Nate Diaz for that. People love the drama, but they also love someone like you who can walk up to Holly and hug her.
Yeah. I'm somewhere in the middle though, because I get a lot of flack for my mouth. Like, so I just can't. I say what I'm thinking, and I'm pretty transparent. And sometimes people think that I get a lot of flack. Oh, you're fake or this and that. I'm like, not really. Like, just because I'm like, I'll say this. Like, I'm a fan of Conor. I am. I like his fighting style, and I his antics. At first, were kind of like, wait, who is this guy? What is he? And then I'm like, man, props to him. He's done amazing things, like, good for him. And he's done really good things for our sport. But when he didn't show up to film that commercial, like, I'm not, I'll be honest. Like, yeah, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way because people are like, oh, he does so much more media than you guys do. Yeah, he probably does. He probably does. I do a lot. He probably does more. I agree. But I don't have a private jet flying out to pick me up and bring me back and fly 20 people of my crew with me too. He does more, so he gets more. When they bring him to Vegas, they put him up in a penthouse. They make sure he has everything that he needs. I don't get that. That's fine. He's earned that. He's in that spot. No problem with that. But I think 3 months out from a fight camp, you have a private jet coming to pick you up. You can bring 20 of your teammates. You could probably work out on the jet if you want to on the way there because it's yours. It's private. Do whatever you want.
Right. You could probably hit mitts on the jet.
Yeah. You could totally, and you're 3 months out and you don't want to show for your media obligations. Like, I don't really understand that. I don't know. I guess I'm trying to figure it out. But the only issue that I had, and it doesn't bother me. Like, if he didn't want to do it, that's his own thing. The thing is that I showed up the day to film the commercial, and I had 2 segments I was supposed to film, and that's all that was on my schedule. And then they asked me, they were like, can you please help us out because Conor's not here, and we don't know what we're doing for this 3rd segment of the commercial that was supposed to be Conor and Nate. So can you please come back later that day and film that segment? And that was during my practice time. So I had to come back and, I did it. So it was like company woman, but it was just frustrating because it's like, dang, if I had known about this, I could have planned my training otherwise. But now I kind of have to scramble to get my second workout in, and then it affected me. So yeah, his decision did. And it probably is actually, I haven't made any more money in the sport yet because of Conor. A lot of people like, oh, you must have got a bigger payday because that last. I'm like, no, because I wasn't the champion. So I didn't get any more of I didn't get any pay-per-views. I didn't get any more money. And now he's not on this fight card. So I'm like, but it's whatever. It's Conor's deal, and I don't hate Conor, but I'm gonna say how I feel, and I would say it if he was sitting here too. Like, dude, why did you do that? You probably.
Well, I feel like there's a bunch of issues here, and and the only way to really get a firm understanding of it is to sit down with everyone involved and say, what was communicated? Your manager, did he know what the appearance schedule was going to be? Like, did you guys agree to this? Did you understand what you were getting into when you were fighting?
And that's it. Maybe it's a misunderstanding,
Who knows? It's hard to say, but the way he went about it was ridiculous. Like saying, I'm retired, thanks for the cheese, and then saying, I'm not retired, and then saying, I'm glad the UFC decided to give the fans what they want, and I'm going to be on UFC 200, and everybody's like, what? Mm-hmm. And so, what he's doing is he's kind of using the media to try to get this thing to pass through. But he doesn't understand Dana and Lorenzo and Frank. No. That's never going to work. Mm-mm. You're either in or you're not in.
Right.
And they're real clear about that. They have to set a precedent. So if you say, fuck you, I'm not doing media, they're going to go, oh, well, okay, fuck you, you're not fighting.
Yeah.
But hold on, I'm Conor McGregor. We're the UFC.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
They've made many stars. They'll make many more in the future.
And we might lose millions of dollars because you're not on UFC 200.
Yeah. Well, Dana said that he had put they put $10 million into promoting this already. $10 million. He's like, we're way over budget, So that's why he was like, you've got to show up and do. That's how Conor was made.
Yes.
Is through that stuff. So
exactly.
Now, at what point do you get to decide that you don't have to do that anymore? If that's what made you who you are, don't you kind of have to Does that make sense? What I'm saying here?
It makes sense.
At what point do you get to decide when you don't have to? I use the machine and now I don't. I just want to hop off now that I'm here. I don't know. Don't you kind of have to keep it the same?
I think so, but there is also a fine line, right? You can do too much. When I was watching the Jose Aldo media tour when they were going all around the world, I'm like, okay, I understand that you want to promote this fight.
Yeah.
But how much of this is helping the actual fight itself? And how much of it is just Conor McGregor constantly talking shit at press conferences and grabbing the belt and all that? I mean, that's really kind of what's selling.
How far out from
it.
the fight was that?
I don't know. They did a lot of it. But apparently Conor was sick. Like, he was like, I'm just constantly fighting off a cold. It's really hard to get in shape, really hard to train because every week, you're traveling from here to there and there to here. It's just you're constantly getting beaten down. And you know what it's like. If you have you ever flown to Brazil and fought?
No. I've flown their 4 fight cards, though.
What is the furthest you've ever had to fly to fight?
Japan.
So that's an interesting one. That's a long flight. It's like 16 hours, right?
Yeah.
What is it like adjusting and then competing?
I try to start adjusting my schedule at home, like blacking out my windows a little bit, or like to make the time frame. But you never get fully adjusted. But my mind frame is like when push comes to shove, when fight time comes, whether it's 2 a.m. my time or not, like I'm gonna be game. So I just look at it that way. But it's not fun. Like, I remember 3 weeks out from my fight with Rin Nakai, which I didn't want to do that fight because she was so unknown. She was undefeated. I'm going over there to like fight on a newly blooming fight pass. And I was like, this is like, feels like it does nothing for me. And if she wins, it springboards her, then she'll be 17-0. She'll have a judo background. They're going to want to make that fight for her and Ronda. I know that's what they're trying to do. So they're trying to use, business, use me as that springboard. And it's like, I don't really want to do this, but I did it. But 3 weeks before the fight, they had me fly to Japan to do some promotional stuff. And I was flying longer than I was even on the ground. And they said, like, ticket sales went up and everything was really good. But, yeah, that was exhausting. So I understand
3 weeks before.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Really hard.
You're peaking, right?
Really hard.
You're ramping it up 3 weeks in.
Super hard. And after my fight with Holly, like, I got to spend a little time in Australia. And then I went straight from Australia to New York. Spent a day there, did a full day of media, went to Connecticut to ESPN, did a full day of media, went to Toronto, did a full day of media. And it's just like, it's non-stop. From like, you start your first interview at 8 a.m, so you pick up at like 7, and you go until 7 at night. And even while you're driving to the next place, they'll have you on the phone with a radio interview. I mean, there's no break. It's pretty intense. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty exhausting. So I get it. I have been in those shoes before, but it's, I don't know, maybe there's more extenuating, maybe he was hurt or something. Maybe he didn't want people to see, like maybe, I don't know, like what if there's even something like that? Like what if he had like hurt himself or something and he didn't want like Nate to know, or
yeah, who knows?
I don't know.
Who knows? And it's also, he also had to realize there was a lot of work that needed to be done to beat Nate.
Yeah.
Like he had hit Nate with some of his best shots, and Nate was fine with it. Mm-hmm. And it was a real problem.
I think that's more what it was, is that he was just obsessed with beating Nate. And I get that too. I don't take that away from him for a minute. Like, he wanted to stay home, or he was in Iceland, I guess, training. Mm-hmm. And he wants to train to beat Nate. I get it. Totally get it.
Yeah, I get it too. It seems like the only way. Also, I felt like...
But then again, he could have brought his whole gym with him,
Sure.
So,
well, he could have tried. I mean, it was going to be a difficult time just trying to find the moments to train and to stay in shape, and then obviously being exhausted from flying and all that jazz.
I think it was a quick turnaround too, like as far as like, I don't think he was supposed to be there more than like 2 days. So
I honestly think he's better off not doing it. Yeah. I honestly think he's better off like sequestering himself for a few months, like really focusing on what went wrong, how to correct it.
I agree.
And can you correct it?
Yeah.
I mean, do you, like, when it comes to the ground game, what I saw on the ground, I was like, boy, this is a long road. Like, you've got a long road to beat a guy like Nate.
Yeah.
He's so much further along in ground and pound, jiu-jitsu, positioning, everything. When I was watching Nate beat him up on the ground and then choke him, I was like, woo, that happened quick.
Yeah.
Like, this is not like Weidman and Rockhold was a prolonged beating before Rockhold eventually stopped him the next round.
Yeah.
But with Nate and Conor, it wasn't that prolonged. It happened pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And when you see that, you go, ooh, like, this is going to be, there's a lot to overcome.
Yeah.
It's not unsurmountable.
It takes a lot of time to build those skill sets. They don't come overnight. You can pick up your cardio pretty quick. You can do a lot of things, but you can't build a skill set any faster than it's going to go into your muscle memory and be in your rep. You've got to put thousands of reps in.
There's no way around it.
Yeah.
There's no way.
There's no way to fast forward through that. There's no way to cut the corner. There's no There's nothing. You can't. Just repetition, repetition, repetition.
What also it highlights all the various eccentric aspects of your training that people are like, is this what makes Conor great? And, and then, Nate calling it touch butt in the park. Like, they're doing all these cartwheels and stuff.
That
and then
video was so funny.
Hilarious.
Oh, my God. I was dying laughing.
Hilarious. So when this all, he's doing all this work with this movement guy, but then you see what happens when it actually comes to fighting skills. And you go, ooh, maybe this is not the way to do it. Because, I've talked to a lot of people that were like, this stuff that he's doing is utter horseshit. Like this doing cartwheels and being obsessed with movement. Here's the movements you need to be worried about, okay? Moving your feet, throwing kicks and punches, takedown defense, and jiu-jitsu on the ground. That's it.
Yeah.
Understanding takedowns yourself, taking people down if you must, trips, sweeps, all that stuff. But all this cartwheels, and what this guy was explaining to me, and I don't want to name any names because he's a prominent guy. He was like, you have to understand that there's a limited amount of energy you have in your time training.
Yes.
And you are not perfect at all these other aspects of MMA. So if you are not perfect at all these other aspects of MMA, you have to say, okay,
prioritize.
how much of this stuff is going to help me? Well, a guy like Georges St-Pierre, he looked at gymnastics and he's like, you know what's going to help me? If I can be stronger physically, and there's no better way, I think, as far as manipulating your body than gymnastics, like doing the rings and developing.
It's proprioception.
Yeah.
You're learning how to manipulate your body in all kinds of contorted positions.
Yes.
And being upside down and understanding where you are when you're upside down and
Right.
where you're going to be with the momentum you have. You have to calculate that. Your math is doing constant algorithms and math equations essentially when you're fighting too.
Right.
Weight distribution, where are we at? Especially when you tie up with someone else and you have to feel their weight and you have to manipulate it in a way to get it where you want, whether it's against the cage or whether it's on the ground. Your body is using a equation.
Yeah.
Your mind is equating how much force do I need to make this happen? How little force? Like, what if I go the opposite direction because they're pushing into me? There's all these different things that you have to there's no other way to do it than a trial and error process and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, and you look at someone who's really good at one aspect of MMA, like Yoel Romero, who's just a ridiculous wrestler. And you go, okay, how much touch butt in the park is that guy doing? How many cartwheels is he doing? Is he tumbling?
No,
is he
but I
rolling
bet
down
you
the
he
grass?
does 100 double legs a day.
Oh, yeah. At least. At least, yeah. Well, he's doing all kinds of
crazy shit. And then 100
shit.
Single legs, and then 100 body locks, and then, every
But
day.
until Conor lost, everybody's like, this is what we need. We need a movement coach. I need a movement coach, And it still might, as we said with Georges St-Pierre, it has massive benefits to get that kind of coordination, physical strength.
I do like about Conor, though, is his balance is impeccable, and that could be part of that. And he's never over himself. Mm-hmm. At least with the striking part of it. Anyways. Right. The ground is a completely different thing. But when he's in striking range and it's just his body, his eye-hand coordination is incredible. And his balance. He's never too far over a punch. He's never too far back. He's always centered. He's always centered. He throws a kick. He never gets, you see people kick and they miss and they kind of stumble, their weight's off balance. Or they kick and even land, and even when they put their foot down, it's kind of it's not a good landing,
Right.
I'm not the world's best kicker, but when I watch Conor do it, it's he kicks or push kicks and sticks. Mm-hmm. He is like a gymnast in the sense,
Yes.
They do those flip and then they want to just, boom, stick it. And he's really, really good at that.
Well, in that sense, maybe that's where the movement does benefit him.
I think so. That he never is over himself in his weight distribution.
Isn't it the case that whenever someone loses, though, everyone always second guesses what they were doing, even if what they were doing was getting them to be 16-0, totally undefeated world champion? When you make a mistake or something goes wrong or something goes right for your opponent, we should probably say, immediately people start questioning everything you did.
Yeah. Definitely, all the time. It happened with me when when I lost to Ronda. Oh, you got to change this, you got to change everything. But as long as you're winning, people are yeah, keep doing what you're doing, it's working. And then you lose, they're change everything. It's like, geez, that was quick.
Well, that's also the Ronda criticism in the Holly Holm fight. Everybody was like looking at her like dominating Betch Correia with stand-up, beating Sarah McMahon the way she did, Alexis Davis beating her down the way she did, and go, well, look, Ronda obviously is getting so good at striking. She's such an elite athlete that she can do what she's doing to anybody. And then her trainer saying that she could go box women professionals and knock them out. And so you get this thing in your head that you can do what you have been doing.
Yeah.
And then you fight someone like Holly and you go, oh, well,